Here are the top stories for today, August 30, 2021. President Duterte honors the frontliners in the fight against COVID-19 in today's celebration of National Heroes Day. The Department of Health asks medical professionals to refrain from making statements that would scare people from getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Senator Bong Go declines the endorsement of ruling PDP Laban to run for president. And Manila Bay's waters may soon become fit for swimming and other outdoor recreations. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The country is paying tribute to all heroes, both living and dead, and their contributions to society as it commemorates National Heroes Day. Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea led the commemoration rites at the Libingan ng mga Bayani earlier today. Medialdea, together with other government officials, also graced an exhibit showing the portraits of heroes during the Second World War. In his message, President Rodrigo Duterte honored the sacrifices of frontliners in the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. Duterte also adds that the bravery of frontliners to ensure the safety and survival of society amid the health crisis is more than enough for them to be considered as heroes. He also rallies for Filipinos to rise above self-interest and work in pursuing a good cause. Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana says Filipinos should take inspiration from the bravery of the country's heroes. He adds Filipinos can also be heroes through observing safety rules amid the pandemic and supporting the government's vaccination drive in order to win the fight against COVID-19. The Department of Health has called on health professionals to help promote and prove the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines so that more people would agree to get inoculated. Marita Mawahe has the story.
The Department of Health reminded medical professionals to be responsible when making statements about COVID-19 jobs to prevent vaccine hesitancy. The DOH maintains that all available vaccines against COVID-19 are effective. The DOH cited data from 23 hospitals in Metro Manila wherein 70% of patients admitted were not vaccinated. It reiterated that COVID-19 vaccines have led to significant reductions in hospitalizations and deaths among vaccinated individuals. Dr. Tony Leachon, the former special advisor to the National Task Force Against COVID-19, earlier questioned during a Senate hearing on Friday if the country is purchasing the right vaccines amid the threat of the Delta variant. NTF Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said Leachon should clarify his remarks as it could influence vaccine confidence in the country. The DOH also allayed fears that the country's Moderna COVID-19 vaccines are contaminated. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeire said the government has strict protocols to ensure that all vaccine shipments are intact and safe for use. This came after Japan suspended the use of about 1.63 million doses of the American-made vaccines after detecting foreign substance in some of its vials. Japanese authorities said a portion of the doses had already been used but no health damages have been reported yet. For his part, Galvez said the government is working hard with vaccine experts to ensure all COVID-19 jobs are safe for public use. He said while different vaccine types have different efficacy rates against the Delta variant, all of them are working and effective based on real-world data. He said the national government and expert groups remain vigilant and transparent in assuring the safety and effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines to ensure an efficient vaccination program. The Philippines has administered nearly 32 million COVID-19 vaccines and over 13.5 million are fully protected against the dreaded disease. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Muahe.
As the Philippines doubles down on COVID-19 response efforts, it got a much-needed boost from the land down under. The Australian government has donated 100 oxygen concentrators to the country as it continues to support Manila's pandemic response. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. received the donation in Pasay City over the weekend. Australia's envoy to Manila, Stephen Robinson, said the aid was given upon Locsin's request during a meeting with his Australian counterpart, Maurice Payne, on August 23rd. The equipment is essential in treating COVID-19 patients as it filters oxygen molecules in the air to provide them with 90 to 95% pure oxygen. The donation earlier further solidifies a partnership between Manila and Canberra for over 7 decades. Piat town in Cagayan province will be placed under an enhanced community quarantine from August 29 until September 11 as the number of COVID-19 active cases there soared. Mayor Carmelo Villasete reported about 117 active cases reported with 20 deaths, prompting them to recommend the 14-day ECQ status to the Cagayan Valley Regional Task Force on COVID-19. ECQ guidelines and protocols will be observed, which include locking down villages and disallowing entry of non-residents without negative RT-PCR tests. Villasete also called on national government agencies to suspend face-to-face seminars and related activities. A family in Piat was said to have been infected after a member attended a seminar sponsored by the Department of Social Welfare and Development in Santa Ana. The mayor also thanked Archbishop Ricardo Bacay for allowing the use of Pilgrims Inn, a church-operated lodge in Piat, as an isolation facility for COVID-19 patients. Meanwhile, the Pangasinan Interagency Task Force on COVID-19 is requesting the national government to place the whole province, including Dagupan City, under GCQ with heightened restrictions from September 1 to 15. Governor Amado Espino III cited the need for more stringent protocols to curb the rapid spread of the disease. The province is currently under modified GCQ. On Friday, the province logged another single-day record of new infections at 721. Espino earlier asked local government units to implement emergency measures to address the recent spike in new cases of COVID-19. The modified enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila will remain in place for another week. In an announcement over the weekend, presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the second strictest quarantine status will be in effect until September 7. Also under MECQ are 15 other areas in the country. The stricter MECQ in Metro Manila, which bans dine-in and personal care services, will also remain in place. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police has advised cops to prepare for the possible shift to granular lockdowns. This as the government plans to make adjustments which include smaller localized lockdowns instead of widespread ones. PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar says this is to avoid confusion in case the national government gives its nod to the measure. Here are the latest quarantine classifications across the country. Still to come, an OFW from Saudi Arabia becomes Dagupan City's first COVID-19 Delta case. And Senator Bong Go declines the endorsement of ruling PDP Laban to run for president. Details ahead. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Ako po si Sergeant Munoz ng Philippine Air Force para sa kampanya na Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Proud po akong sabihin na bakunado na ako laban sa COVID-19. Kaya naman po panatag ang aking kalooban dahil alam ko na protektado ako at ang aking pamilya laban sa coronavirus. Bida ang may disiplina. Kaya naman magparehistro at magpabakuna na para sa ligtas na pamilya at ligtas na bayan.
Hi everyone, James Deacon here. The COVID-19 vaccines are finally here and the government wants to make sure the vaccines reach us. So let's do our part by making sure that we get registered to be included in the vaccination list of our LGU. You can register right in the comfort and safety of your own homes through your LGU's online registration platform. And you can also register on-site in the vaccination venues or through your barangay. Remember, getting vaccinated is the first step towards ending this pandemic. So let's do our part as disciplined citizens. Bida ang may disiplina. Magpakarehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
Dagupan City in Pangasinan has confirmed its first case of the COVID-19 Delta variant. In a statement Sunday, the city's Public Information Office said the patient is a 35-year-old migrant worker from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The OFW tested positive on July 31 in Manila and yielded the same results in another test on August 12 but was allowed to leave the isolation facility on August 18 pending the release of the genome sequencing result. The patient is asymptomatic and has undergone a repeat swab test along with family members today. Dagupan City currently has over 400 active COVID-19 cases. More local government units in the provinces ramp up their vaccination drive to achieve population protection. The details from Chris Crismundo.
In Davao City, the local government's vaccination drive gets a boost through public and private partnerships. These are the Davao Christian High School Alumni Association, Gaisano Mall, and the Bureau of Customs. These groups work together to inoculate at least 1.2 million individuals to achieve population protection in the city. In Bacolod City, the local government ramped up its vaccination drive by holding the Big Jab Weekend. More residents flocked to the two shopping malls to get the much-needed COVID-19 vaccine. The city government aims to make the vaccination program more accessible to everyone by opening more hubs in various barangay gymnasiums, health centers, and school campuses. It also deployed the VaxEye mobile bus, conducted drive-through vaccination, and will also launch a 24-hour Vax clinic. Meanwhile, more personnel of the Department of Education in the Ilocos region have already received the full doses of COVID-19 vaccine. Most of the personnel are under the A4 priority group or the essential workers. DepEd said the completion of the vaccination of the eligible population in the region will depend on the availability of the vaccines. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
The Philippines has always been contesting foreign research vessels that enter its maritime territory without permission from the government. Speaking at a recent virtual presser, National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon Jr. says the Foreign Affairs Department immediately protests any unauthorized entry of any marine scientific research ship. He adds protested acts include swarming of vessels around the country's stations, especially in the protected Pag-asa Island, and the vessels' act of turning of their automatic identity system. Esperon, who also heads the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea, says they immediately pursue diplomatic action if they see a breach of the country's sovereignty and sovereign rights. He cited the incident in June this year where the Philippines filed a diplomatic protest against China after it fired flares against a patrolling Philippine military aircraft on patrol at the Union Banks. Senator Christopher Lorenzo Bongo has rejected the call for him to run as president. The senator said he is not interested in running for the said position amid endorsement by the PDP Laban. The group has also endorsed President Rodrigo Duterte as its vice presidential bet, which the president accepted. In a letter addressed to party president and Department of Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi, Go said that while he is deeply honored by the trust and confidence, he respectfully declines the endorsement. As the chair of the Senate Committee on Health, Go said that he would rather devote his time and attention in helping the government and Filipinos overcome the pandemic as soon as possible. A leading official of the Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan maintained that President Rodrigo Duterte remains the chair of the ruling party. PDP Laban Secretary General Melvin Matibag issued this statement on Sunday after the faction led by Senator Manny Pacquiao elected Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III as party chair, supposedly to replace Duterte. Matibag said Pimentel, whose late father Aquilino Jr. was the PDP Laban founder, does not represent the party. He insisted Duterte remains at the helm of the ruling party. PDP Laban Executive Director Ron Munsayak earlier said the self-proclaimed original PDP Laban elected the new party officials in a national council on Sunday afternoon. In July, the group of Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi ousted Pacquiao as PDP Laban president and replaced him with Cusi. Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi has ordered energy stakeholders in Mindoro to resolve the power crisis in the area. Cusi led a meeting with energy stakeholders in Calapan Oriental, Mindoro on Friday to address the rotational brownouts on the entire island of Mindoro. Cusi ordered the power situation to be resolved by end of September. He said the National Power Corporation needs to provide the 25 megawatts needed as a temporary measure. The NPC would help provide power supply to the province, while the Oriental Mindoro Electric Cooperative is conducting its own process of contracting with the help of the National Electrification Administration. Up next, President Duterte allows the reopening of Boracay's casino to get more funds for COVID-19 response. And Manila Bay's waters may soon become fit for swimming and other outdoor recreations. We're back after a quick break. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Yorme Isko po, bakuna po ang ating kasangga sa patuloy na pandemya. Kaya upang maproteksyonan ang ating sarili at mga mahal sa buhay, wag po nating palampasin ang pagkakataong magpabakuna sa lalong madaling panahon. Tandaan na sa patuloy na laban kontra COVID-19, ang disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado. Magparehistro't magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan. Manila, God first.
Commander Dito Ocampo po ng Philippine Coast Guard Auxiliary para sa kumpanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit natin kailangan magpabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Dahil mahal mo ang iyong sarili, pamilya at bayan. Ang bakuna ang tiyak na paraan para tuluyang mapigilan ang pagkalat ng virus. May mga patunay na mababa ang porsyento ng pagkalat ng COVID-19 sa mga nabakunahan na. At matapos mabakunahan, malaki na ang tsansa na makabalik ka sa normal mong pamumuhay. Kaya tulad ko magparehistro na at magpabakuna na kontra COVID-19. Muli po, ako si Commander Dito Ocampo, Disiplina Muna Ambassador. Nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna dahil bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro tayo at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte gave his nod to the resumption of casino operations in Boracay. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque said the move is part of the government's efforts to augment funds for COVID-19 response. The casino may resume operations on conditions that health protocols against COVID-19 will be observed. Minors are prohibited from all gambling activities. In a pre-recorded talk to the people last week, Duterte hinted that he might lift the casino ban in Boracay as the government is running low on funds. Duterte also said the administration needs to look for ways to generate more funds to address the pandemic. In May this year, Duterte allowed the partial resumption of gambling activities such as those under Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs. A group of farm workers and other villagers in Barangay E. Lopez, Silay City, Negros Occidental burned communist terrorist flags and pledged allegiance to the government in a ceremony at the village-covered court on August 28. About 250 individuals, including members of Hacienda Culahao Sea Farmers Workers Association and Hacienda Nenita Farmers Workers Association, took their oath of allegiance to the government. The villagers also denounced the atrocities and lies of the CPP-NPA in the presence of Mayor Park Goles and officials of the Philippine Army and the Philippine National Police. They signed the resolution condemning and declaring as persona non grata groups aiding communist terrorists in committing terroristic and criminal acts that violate the people's rights. Lieutenant Colonel J.J. Javines, commanding officer of the Army's 79th Infantry Battalion, commended the move of residents in condemning the acts of communist terrorist groups and their allied organizations. Filipino para-swimmer Ernie Gawilan ended his campaign in the Tokyo Paralympics after failing to win medals in his 3 events. Gawilan finished at 10th place in the men's 100-meter backstroke S7 competition on Monday morning. Gawilan finished last in the heats with a time of 1 minute and 21.60 seconds, with only the top 8 swimmers qualifying for the medal round. Earlier, Gawilan finished at 6th place in the finals of the men's 400-meter freestyle S7 on Sunday. Israel's Mark Malvar won the gold, Andrei Trusov of Ukraine took the silver, and the United States' Evan Austin grabbed the bronze. Gawilan also fell short of a final spot in the men's 200-meter individual SM7 with a 9th place finish. The Department of Tourism, in coordination with the National Task Force Against COVID-19, has committed to provide more vaccines for tourism workers to sustain the recovery of the pandemic-hit industry in Surigao Island. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Piat and NTF Deputy Chief Implementer Secretary Vince Dizon graced on Friday the vaccination rollout in the country's surfing capital in Surigao del Norte. A total of 2,000 first doses for 2,000 tourism workers have been delivered to ramp up inoculation efforts in the country's major tourism destinations. Piat said the DOT aims to inoculate 100% of Siargao's 13,150 tourism workers. As of August 25, a total of 833 tourism workers on the island have already received their first dose of the Sinovac vaccine. Piat and Dizon also led the vaccination program in key tourism destinations such as Bohol, Boracay, El Nido, Coron, San Vicente, Puerto Princesa City, and Pampanga. The waters off the Baywalk area along Manila Bay can soon be fit for swimming and other contact recreational activities. Environment Secretary Roy Cimatu said measures for rehabilitating Manila Bay will continue so the concentration of fecal coliform bacteria can meet the standard for outdoor activities by October. Cimatu said fecal coliform level in Baywalk waters already dipped to some 7,000 most probable number per 100 milliliters this August from 1.26 billion. Treatment of effluent discharging into Manila Bay from Abad, Padre Paura, and Remedios significantly contributed to this improvement. Meanwhile, Cimatu said the government plans to install a viewing deck in the beach area where people can enjoy Manila Bay's world-famous sunset. In 2019, the government commenced rehabilitation of Manila Bay so it can be fit again for contact recreation as ordered by the Supreme Court in 2008. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte honors the frontliners in the fight against COVID-19 in today's celebration of National Heroes Day. The Department of Health asks medical professionals to refrain from making statements that would scare people from getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Senator Bong Go declines the endorsement of ruling PDP Laban to run for president. And Manila Bay's waters may soon become fit for swimming and other outdoor recreations. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.